Welcome, everyone, to the Kiz Passion Show. I guess that's what I'm calling this. My name is TV from Kiz Passion, former host of the Monday Night Kizomba Social, world famous Monday Night Kizomba Social, which has since been given over, management has been handed over to For the Love. No, Flavors of Kizomba, Sandy and her team. She's running it. So if you're watching this and it's about to be February, make sure you attend the next Monday Night Kizomba on February 6th. This upcoming Monday. But the reason for today's conversation and today's episode is to talk to the one and only Alan Harris. Alan Harris is an old friend of sorts. I met him a while back. Actually met him before I met him. I had seen him because, I mean, you look at him, he stands out in a Kizomba social, a Sempa social. The dude stands out, and he was getting down. And it took me a few times before I finally approached him and just introduced myself. And at some point in my life, I ended up in San Diego. He was living there, reached out to him, ended up hanging out with him, crashing with him. Did you? No, you showed me around San Diego. You took me to the beach. You did a lot of cool things, you and your lovely wife. So he's become a friend, and now he's here. Yep. So we're going to talk about that. Alan, welcome to the show. I guess it's a show. I think I'm
Thank you. I feel very welcome. That was a beautiful preamble that brought me in. I didn't know when to talk, so I was just like,
now.
That's all good stuff.
Go in, brother.
That's all true.
So do me a favor and tell the world, for those that don't know you, those here in Dallas are getting to know you fairly quick. Tell us about yourself, your background, and what we should know or not know about you.
Okay, so if you shouldn't know it, I will try not to tell you. For the stuff that you should know, I mean, I started out getting into dance and really getting out of my shell altogether because I left the Marine Corps and I was down in San Diego. There's a Marine base there, and I was like 26, something like that, single. All my friends had left. Either they went to other stations with the Marines, or they left the Marines altogether and went home to wherever they were from. And so I was one of the few people that was still there. And I was like, I gotta find something to do. And I tried different things. I was in the Marines, so I tried shooting, but that's not a particularly social activity, at least for me. It wasn't easy to do small talk at the range. Just pew, pew, and it's loud. It's not good. I tried ballroom dancing, and I remember on the way thinking very clearly, because I wanted to make friends, but I wanted to meet at least part of it. I'm like, what if there are no cute girls there?
Right.
And I'm like, well, I better actually like dancing. And I went there, and there were beautiful women, but they were nowhere near my age. So
were they older?
Yeah. Way older.
Were they older?
It was a ballroom studio, so there was like women in their 60s and their 70s who were lovely people. But for the purposes of dating, there was basically no one except for the instructor. But I'm like, I was smart enough to realize that relationship is based on courtesy and tips, and so that's not a real interest there, so to speak. It's just being a lovely person, being an instructor.
Right.
But I loved it. I actually really did enjoy the classes. I enjoyed getting to know the people that were there. And then from there, ballroom can be expensive. If you don't know, ballroom
that was my way in
as
well.
Ballroom is the expensive way to get into dance by far. They try to do all kinds of things to make you pay all the money.
Yeah.
But in San Diego, at least San Diego area, there's all kinds of salsa and bachata places that you can go dance. And so I started out into that world. And from there, I really got into bachata. I loved it, and especially the real bachata, as far as I could tell from the Dominican. That was what I most appreciated. And then one day, I found a bachata event that was far, far from me, but it was salsa, bachata, kizomba, and the party for $5.
Well, is
And
man,
I'm,
that's
I
cheap.
was exactly. So I was so broke from all these ballroom days. Anything that was free or cheap, I'm there. And
Hmm.
so I drove hour and a half. I tried out this kizomba thing, and I kind of liked it.
Okay.
And it was good. I stuck with bachata, but whenever I got a chance, I'd check out kizomba. Until the LA Bachata Festival most drove me into the arms of the kizomba scene
Mm. Come here, big boy.
because
Come here.
because because I went to the kizomba room at the festival and everyone was lovely and I was still new, but I could dance. I could get through a few songs, and it was exactly that. Like, come dance with us, come dance, don't leave the room. Da,
Oh, I
da, da.
love that. Yes.
But bachata was still my main dance at the time. I'm at this huge festival and I went and I got at least two divas in a row. I'd ask them to dance. Instead of doing me the courtesy of saying no, they said yes. And then the entire dance would just, their whole face was just judging me the whole time.
Uh-oh.
If they'd have just said no, I'd have been perfectly fine. I'm sure I'd have found other people. And I
Hmm.
did have good bachata dances. But the Kizomba room and my experience, the Kizomba scene has tended to be way more friendly.
Mm. I've heard
There's
this.
definitely parts of the night, parts of the songs that can be for dating and for being close to people, but generally more friendly, more family friendly, more just welcoming to all different types of people than at least my experience of the Latin scene in SoCal. But
Wow.
it depends.
So, so who was teaching that, or what besides that, or was that the moment when you started to really fall in love with Kizomba? Is that
That
moment
was
in the social when you felt welcomed and included?
that was a big part of it. And the other part was in San Diego, they had local classes, and the teacher down there, Javier, he was doing his best to actually teach Kizomba because I tried a class. I thought it was Kizomba. I was told it was Kizomba, but it was actually like some kind of fusion ish thing between Kizomba and Zouk.
When did you start
And
teaching?
it's
When did you start? When was this? I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt. When was this?
I started dancing Kizomba around 2013, maybe
Oh,
one
yeah, that's before
class.
the names really started to cement themselves, right? So
Right.
everything
So
was being called Kizomba,
anyone at most people might put a label on it if they were being honest. They might say Kizomba fusion
right?
or
French style, right?
French style. Yeah, a
Right.
lot
That was
of,
the term at the time.
as far as I can tell, and I'm not sure because I didn't study it that much, but as far as I can tell, urban kind of came from French style, but there's all different
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
differences. But
So,
yeah,
when did you? So, how long did you dance before and continue to develop your skills before you said, "Hey, I'll teach"? Where was that point when you decided to start teaching?
um, it was not. It was not really that I volunteered. It's that I
Mm.
was drafted.
Oh,
I was in classes. I was super regular. I really enjoyed it. So,
uh-huh.
if there were 52 classes a year, I'd go 50 or 51. I
Wow.
probably miss one or two, but if I could be there every single time. And so the teacher that I was there, he would notice that. And so one of the things that he did well was, at least for me, I know other students were annoyed, but for me, he would take more advanced, at least advanced for his classes students, and then have them participate in the teaching. Like, Alan, call out the move. Alan, can you explain this? And so I'm still in his class, but if it's something I'm familiar with, he would put me on the spot to start teaching, taking off the load of him, but bringing me up. And that went
Mm.
on for that went on at least for a year before I did any teaching on my own. So,
Interesting.
and
Oh,
and then,
yes, I'm sorry.
well, and then similarly to when Lucia moved to the area. So if you know Kizomba in the U.S., and then also previously she was in the U.K. Previously she came from Portugal, but Lucia Nogueira is a very good Kizomba teacher
Yeah.
and dancer, travels all around and gives amazing classes. So I was very lucky that along with Javier, he's good, but Lucia is just
He leveled you up,
ex,
right?
ex, she my wife and I always tell a story where my wife had been coming with me. We were dating at the time, and she was struggling. She was really struggling. She hadn't come from other dances, and she wasn't really feeling the instruction was good enough for her as a follower, and she was struggling to. Lucia came the first time she taught, and Nena immediately got way better as a follow.
Wow.
It was instantaneous. So
What?
all of because she was learning in the class previously, but it wasn't clicking. And Lucia was able to, in one class, unlock enough and give her enough skill that the things she was previously learning kind of all came into focus.
But
So
Tetris just kind of collapsed.
it's not like she taught her an hour of dancing in a year, but what she did was unlocked an hour of instruction she never was able to really access. She never quite got it. And that this is my theory. Maybe my wife will disagree, but that's what I really think happened is Lucia's very good and she was
Yes.
able to see some key things that were struggling for my wife. And after one class, fixing those keys unlocked a lot of the stuff she was trying to do.
Lucia is one of the best instructors I've ever run across in all my years, and this is in every type of dance that I've been in. Seems to be the most nuanced and understanding. I feel, and I don't know, I've never asked her this in the times that we hung out, but I feel like she has in-depth knowledge on how to teach and how people learn, and obviously enough knowledge of Kizomba that she's able to really pinpoint with absolute laser precision what needs to be corrected, so people like your wife can just unlock some things. That's fascinating. I hadn't heard this story, but it makes sense given that it's Lucia. Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And my journey was not at all the same, which is I did learn a lot from Lucia, but it was over the course of years and years. And each time I would take a lesson from her, every single time I would learn a lot. But for me, the way I learn best is over time. That's why I'm so regular in classes, is week in and week out, trying it over and over again.
Yeah.
And I've gotten a lot better now, but back then I was really terrible at practicing on my own. I would basically do zero practice outside of class. So luckily, I was very regularly going to class to at least get that consistency.
Get those reps in.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about your San Diego scene. When I got, oh crap, I moved the camera. When I came across and came to San Diego and hung out with you, were you already teaching then, or did you start teaching after that? I can't recall. I know I went to a class and Lucia was teaching it, but I felt like you were also assisting at that time.
Probably the time you were visiting, I was already teaching. So at the studio that Lucia was teaching at, or at least the main one, I think she may have taught other places as well. They would have me teach the beginner class, and then the other instructor, Javier, or then Lucia, or for a time I had a Friday class. They had Mondays, and so there was experimentation to try to add it to a second night or try to expand so there's more classes, and that kind of came and went. As far as having enough new people, enough attendance, enough just recruiting to make that work. But pretty consistently since maybe 2016, I've been teaching 2015, 2016. I've been teaching since
Wow.
then. Yeah.
That is impressive.
You know, you're a fan of The Simpsons?
I am. Well, I am, but I can't, don't quiz me because I'm not that great at the trivia.
There's an
But go ahead.
You don't have. There's a older episode where I
Okay.
guess they decide to go out to eat or something, and Marge says, oh, great, I can take the night off. I don't have to cook dinner. And Homer says something along the lines of, no, cook dinner and throw it away. I don't want you to get out of practice. That was me for the first year of the pandemic. I taught classes into the void.
Kidding.
Like I had Zoom classes,
Okay.
and sometimes people.
I'm sorry. Please hold that thought. Sorry. Oh my God.
If we're holding thoughts, I'm going to get a drink.
Oh my God. I've never sneezed on a podcast. That was horrible. Oh, so you were teaching Zoom classes into a void during the pandemic.
So during the pandemic, after the lockdown started, the studio I was teaching for, they very quickly set up some online classes with the idea that hopefully if lockdowns were very brief, do online for a while, get back to normal, and everything would be good. So I was teaching behind this paywall, and for a few months, people would come from the studio who were still paying their dues to the studio for online instead of in-person classes.
Interesting.
And then for a time after that, it started slowing down and slowing down and slowing down. So, on a Zoom call, it can be awkward. And maybe I had 10 students at one point, probably less, but, I had enough where I felt really engaged. And after a time, it was live was zero, pretty consistently zero. And for me, there was all kinds of problems because it was behind a paywall. It was necessarily marketed. I wasn't doing any marketed. And so, but I was posting to a private Facebook group for all the members that they would have access to later. So I did the class assuming every single member would watch it, even though I didn't necessarily know or think that was reality, but I pretended that was the case. So for close to a year, I was doing classes on Zoom to myself.
That has to be tough. I mean, how the hell do you teach? I can't imagine teaching a dance class for a year to a group class without having the feedback, the observation, the correction.
Well, and that's why I eventually quit, because the studio was promising an IOU, and eventually the studio shut down.
Oh.
And then once the studio shut down, I stopped being behind the paywall. I offered it, and I guess for a time more people came, but it wasn't well attended, and I didn't necessarily blame them because it wasn't as good an experience as being live. By far.
Just can't be. Dancing is a social sport.
And once you make the class online, it's the internet. I'm now competing with every instructor in the entire world, and there's plenty of them that
and they're all teaching online at that point.
Me.
Yeah, they're all teaching at that point, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not even just the people in your city.
So eventually, I did it for free for a while. I got some attendance, and it did, like I always said, I was getting paid in joy, the joy of teaching and the joy of trying to help these people who were my students not get as rusty, maybe learn a thing or two, give them techniques on how to practice alone. And that was a big focus of those classes, was how to practice if you're stuck by yourself.
Which most work, probably, I'm sure. I guess all those reps really paid off, because
it helped.
Yeah, I mean, the reps are reps. I'm sure teaching to a group of people is better still in person. However, you're learning the material deeper, at least internally. I have a quote that I think of a lot that always comes up for me, which is when one teaches to learn. So maybe you were teaching to an empty room or to the ether, but you have to learn. And One thing that I have definitely appreciated from the few classes that I've watched you teach since you got here is that you have a charm and a way of keeping people engaged. And to me,
Thank
is
you.
you're one of the better ones at that, and I think it speaks to the amount of reps that you got. You have and your just natural personality and sense of humor. You made me laugh throughout the class.
Thank
You're
you.
really, really good at that. And one thing that I've come to believe heavily is that if people aren't having fun and enjoying themselves, then they're just not going to come eventually. That's the whole point. So you can teach them really technical stuff, which you want to at some point. But if
Right.
that's all you're doing and you're not keeping them engaged, they're not going to keep coming because you strip the fun out of it. Now, obviously, the next level after that is someone that wants to know the technique and the specific where your foot needs to be and your weight. That's fantastic. But when you're first learning, a lot of it is just fun, getting the basic steps, getting the basic movements, and just being engaged. You do a fantastic job of that. I don't think I've ever said that to your face. This is as close to your face as I can get. But you do really, really well. So I can't help now knowing this story that this has a large part to do with it because you do have the reps. So you don't have to think so much about the steps. You can be a little more clever, a little more fun.
Yeah,
Kudos to you.
thank you. It that was definitely helpful. I grew a lot from that experience. I learned to not a high level, but I definitely learned a lot about video editing from that experience. Um,
Mm.
I would release the full classes, and then what I would do is I would cut highlight reels of some move that went well or was interesting or some joke I did, especially when the classes had other participants. I really enjoyed making those highlights because I could play jokes off of them, or they would say something as well, or I
Yeah.
could highlight their quality dancing because just seeing me over and over and over again
Boring.
um, is pretty boring content,
Yeah.
or at least needs to be kept exceptionally brief. But it helped with that. It was actually when I very first started, right to the pandemic, that really helped me learn to engage classes because I've taught beginner classes for so long. And the people who mentored me really made it a point that I need to teach people the basics very well before doing too much technical stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe a little treat here and there or a
Yep.
little addition here and there,
Yay.
but the the basics have to be really well done. And in order to try to pull that off, the classes have to be so fun. You're not worried that you're doing
Correct.
Beagle for the fourth week in a
Bingo.
row.
Yeah. Bingo.
It's not all there is to class. There's other things. You mix up the order, but some of the moves have been repeated week after week after week. And so if you don't say it in an interesting manner, people check
Yeah.
out real quick.
Oh my God, we're doing this again. No, not this, not beautiful.
And I had that, and I made mistakes with that, and I've learned. I eventually I will remove it, but I have a move on my do not teach list because I taught it way too many times.
Okay. You
And
have a list.
well, it's a list of one, but there's a move I taught way too many times in a row, and it's not a basic that has to be taught so much. And so I'm like, I'm just banning it. So because if I didn't plan properly, I would default to that move, and
Oh
I'm like, I
God.
can't default to that anymore. It's too much.
Okay.
Um, so yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move this conversation forward and tell me what brought you, because for those that don't know, he now lives in North Texas. Well, North Texas, I don't even know. He lives in Texas now. He was in San Diego. He's in California. He moved to Texas. So my question to you, Alan, is what brought you here? Why here and not like, I don't know, the rest of the country?
A few big things brought me here. One of the main ones was affordability. Um,
Good
the,
one.
the real estate prices, even on the upswing for here, are dramatically cheaper than where I was living in San Diego. my family would have basically never been able to afford a home as far as a single family standalone home. We wanted one, but in an area we would enjoy living, we couldn't afford one because it was 5, 6, 7, 800,000 for the type of home we were interested in. So we could have moved way away from the areas we enjoyed in California and maybe been able to find something there. But at that point, why stay in California altogether was our thinking. So we were looking at Florida for a time, and we just weren't feeling it. We were thinking of Tampa. It would have been beautiful for my job, but I always thought I can't go to Texas. There's no office for me in Texas. My job won't let me. And then I asked my job, and they said, "Sure, go for it. There's another office. You'll be by yourself, but there's an office you can work out of."
Oh, wow.
Plus, this was in the middle of COVID, or not the middle, but this was during COVID when work from home for my type of job. I work in IT. Was 100% and had been for years. So what's the point in keeping me in California? They don't care. Just go wherever you want. And two other things that were really huge is my best man from my wedding was thinking of moving back. He's living in the area as well.
You the dude I met?
Yeah.
Oh, he's fun. I love him and his family. They're great people.
Yeah, TV came out to my son's birthday party, and crazy.
That was fun.
That
was a lot of fun. Crazy, rambunctious, loud, but fun.
So one of my best friends is moving to the area, so at least I'll know some people. And reason 3 or 4, I lost count. I was seeing these pictures. Okay, reason 3. After your fingers go into focus, I was seeing these pictures and these videos of this event on my timeline. I wanted to go to bad, and I wanted to participate in, and I liked the vibe of the scene, and I knew TV, and that event was Monday Night Kizomba. And I can't remember exactly the timeline, and I kind of became aware of TV's philosophy of how he organizes, how he does things for his events. And it is a philosophy that I very much appreciated, for family friendly, for not expecting support as a de facto idea, but actually making sure you excel so that people come. All of these things made me think I can afford it better. My family will do better. I have friends there outside of dance, and there's a good shot the dance scene is healthy, and I could potentially teach Kizomba and help that scene grow even more. And all of that, we were just like, okay, let's get in the U-Haul. Let's go.
All right. Thank you. Stories like yours and what you just shared, and you've told me versions of this, but this is actually a little more in depth, make me stupid happy. One of the goals of mine has always been to not only grow the community locally, but to promote and share enough content that nationally we start to make an impression upon people. And you moved here. You moved here. At least that was a factor. And I think that a handful of other people have also moved here before you and since you, because they knew that, hey, there's what looks to be a healthy scene here, or they visited, they came to a festival, and they stayed for Monday night. And they enjoyed the vibe, they enjoyed the people and the community that we do have. So they made a decision to move here. So that's, to me, as over and over again, is humbling, because it makes me feel like the work is paying off. It's convinced people that are not from the city to move here. So thank you. Thank you for telling that and sharing that. And you told me, because we've been chatting for a couple years now, even before you moved here, we have been talking. but knowing that that was a factor makes me super excited, and when we get to benefit from that. And there's so many ways to go about that. I believe that if you create a healthy scene and one healthy event, that event will help attract people, not just people locally, but people nationally. The talent will grow, and as you've seen, and I'll ask you that next, that one event helps cultivate this culture of community and development. I looked up recently. Shika teaches hosts the Two Kids event on Tuesdays, and
Right.
she shared the roster of DJs, and I counted, and there was 9 DJs, different calibers. Myself I was also on that roster. I am nowhere as excellent as the individuals that were on that list, but I was a part of that roster. There's 9 people in the city that are teaching, or I mean, DJing on some level. And she also had 10, 11 people to teach every month as well. Not many cities have that. Some of that was because we have had a scene that's been kind of pump faking. We start, we grow, then people fall off for whatever reason, then we do it again, So some of those people that are teaching now started teaching before, and then they gave up for whatever the reasons, COVID being a large one. But now we have a healthy scene of anywhere from 8 to 15 instructors that are going at any given time, or trying to go, or have the capacity to teach. That to me is so stinking cool. And that what helps feed this entire community. That event has helped cultivate those. Oh, and the other part to the teachers is that a handful of them got their start in Monday Night Kizomba. That one event helped cultivate and nurture those individuals. The teachers got the reps. We talk about reps, right? This past year in 2022, Kelly and Gilbert ran Monday Night Kizomba, the free class, almost for 10 months straight, and went from almost beginners, and they were teaching before, but they got consistent reps there. And by the time they did the last class while I was still in charge, they were fantastic. They ran the room, controlled the energy, kept it fun. Like, they were so good because they had the reps. I can go on and on, but it makes me so happy to hear these stories, because this is what's possible. It's not just about, hey, we need people to come to this dance so we can, get more people in class, but the whole community can benefit if somebody takes the mantle and says, I'm going to have one event, and I'm going to make sure that it's successful and that it runs consistently.
Well, and Monday Night Kizomba, the way you ran it, it reminds me a lot of how I started teaching, with that ability to get a lot of practice in. And this is for good and for bad, but I think overall for the scene, it's a huge plus, which is the people on that roster at Monday Night Kizomba are volunteers, and some of them are newer and some of them are very experienced. And it is definitely a good time every time I've gone, but it's almost in a way like a open mic night. It's a learning experience. It's these type of people are there. They're doing their best to do a quality job, but they don't necessarily have the reps yet. Some of them do, some of them don't. And that was similar to how I started teaching. Was I was not good enough yet, but
it gotta start sometime.
And I was being encouraged to do it as an apprentice in a way. And so that a system that builds up teachers, that builds up DJs, that is being encouraged here, and that I benefited from to a degree, and some of my other people in San Diego had some benefit of that as well. That type of system for a scene, because if you see online, you see people dancing in the dance world, there will often be a narrative of terrible teachers just starting, they don't know what they're doing, and so forth. And there's definitely some of that. But what if, instead of shutting them down, and this is an if, but if they have a willingness to learn, what if instead of completely shutting them down, they were mentored by a nearby teacher, or they were mentored, or they could help participate in the class as a teacher's assistant type of role. And there was the idea that, yes, they are new, they don't have all the knowledge, they don't have all the skill, but if we foster them to be the level we want, instead of, sometimes the narrative, especially online, is shut it down, don't let them do it at all. And I understand that if someone is by themselves, making no effort to learn from anyone, but if they're willing to learn, that mentorship is so huge for how a scene can grow and develop, from local talent to have more and more people who can dance and teach and DJ and all of that.
It's you make a great point. That happens a lot. People will shut them down, will scream at them, will shout at them that they shouldn't be teaching because they're not good enough. The problem is, then when should you teach? How long should you wait? And if your city is lacking a community, then who leads? If nobody is leading, if you're willing to lead. I learned this in the marketing world. It's a principle that I kind of love, and it says, to be a teacher, to be an instructor, to be a coach, you don't necessarily need to be the best. You just need to be a few steps ahead of them and have the desire to want to learn, right? To be taking classes, to be taking teacher training if you can, and to be willing to acknowledge that I'm not pretending to be the best teacher or that I know it all or I have all the best moves, but you come to class, you're going to have fun, teach you what I just learned the best I can. Maybe I went to a workshop this past weekend or a festival. I'm going to teach you that. And I'm going to make sure that you have a place to dance and a friendly place to connect with others. So somebody has to do it. And everyone that has at one point taught sucked. I dare you to find one instructor that was good. And if he was good, then he was probably being mentored for a very long time before he was let loose. So he still had someone holding his hand, if they exist. In the dance world, it's really difficult because it's not a lot of money to go around. You have to do it for the love. And at Monday Night Kizomba, what my original vision was is create a space where dancers can dance. The original for them to dance, because most cities don't have a consistent place to dance with enough people in the place to make it hopping, right?
Right.
If I could do that, my vision was, hey, now we as a scene can improve. So that was my original vision, just for the dancers. I didn't anticipate bringing in an instructor. Somebody said, hey, TV, why don't you have a beginner's class? And then, we can learn, we can start teaching and we can learn to get better. I'm like, holy shit, that's a great idea. And it's actually very low risk because it's a beginner's class. For the most part, almost 80% of the people, 70% of the people, we got up to like 50 people. We've had up to 50, 60 people, in the class, but they're all beginners. So they don't know any better. And as long as you're teaching them the basics, you're respecting the fundamentals, you're respecting the culture. That's something that I ask. Respecting the culture, teaching the fundamentals, and you make it fun, you can teach in my place. I'll let you have that. So it's low risk and you get to experience, because there's a lot of things as a teacher that you have to manage. You don't just teach the steps. It's like, energy, people, how do people flow, how do you exchange, all that. It was low risk, so little by little they could start improving without feeling like they just dropped the ball and sucked it up and now they will never teach again. I give them notes at the end from what I know, my experience watching, observing. I've been a trainer in the past, I've been a teacher in the past. Anyways, the point is, it was only intended for the dancers, and then the teachers came. And then the DJs came, because then DJs wanted to learn and people were like, hey, I want to do that. So they did. And now you look up and we have and it's crazy to me because it was just a small vision and it got to be bigger and bigger. Everybody got to learn and develop their skills. And if they wanted to ante up and take on another role, they could. Once again, at a low risk, they didn't have to risk their entire self-esteem thinking that they blew it. And now you look up and the whole city is seen as a hotbed for talent. And I believe that every city has this. They just don't have a platform, a place for them to be able to start, get their feet wet, make mistakes. Lord knows when I DJ to this day, I make 2 or 3 big mistakes. I used to make a whole lot more. But it doesn't matter because on top of that, the event is free. This particular event is free. So I usually say this, and I may have included it in the training video. For my events, if they don't like it or if they're like, oh, that DJ sucks, they're like, bro, you can hit the road because this is free. You can suck a lemon and hit the road if you're going to have that type of behavior, but nobody does because they can appreciate the effort and the love and the energy and everything about it. And it makes me so happy to have you be a part of it, Alan. So when you taught,
thank you.
When you taught in October, it was like a full circle moment for me. And you did a fantastic job. What was that like for you?
I mean, I've done other classes since then when I've moved, in the Dallas area, and I've had some good ones. I've had some bad ones. That one was amazing. That was one of the best classes I've ever done as far as how many people were there, how engaged they were, how much fun we all had.
Yep.
I was very blessed that Kelly, that you mentioned, Kelly, of Kelly and Gil, the teaching duo, she was assisting me, and she's a teacher in her own right. Her assistance was exceptionally helpful. And I just shared, last night, I finally got around to sharing the demo, and it's probably, if it's not the best demo I've ever done, it's tied with some other demo I can't think of, because it's as we've been talking about my journey and progressing and all these things that improved, I'm terrible at demos. I am. The camera comes on and my dance ability drops 30 to 40%.
I hate cameras and demos.
Watching that video was one of the rare times I did a demo and I watched it and I can see worms to improve, but that captured probably the best of what I can do currently.
Really?
I mean, I can, I know I can work on that and maybe work on this. But if I'm honest with myself, that's because I need to work on those things. It's not because I stopped doing what I know. I got in my head. I got in my own way. No, that was really enjoying playing, having a great time dancing with Kelly, and the environment, whatever happened, it was one of the best times I've ever had for teaching, and then for doing the demo afterwards. Wow. It was really good.
That once again warms my heart. Like, I shot the video. So I'm doing my best because we're in a new space that we moved into last year, but I've been struggling shooting demos in there, given just the geometric shape of the space. But I was trying really hard and I forgot. I had the last 3 or 4, I didn't even do the demos, post them. I would shoot them, but I wouldn't post them. You asked me for the video. I was like, oh God, I think I shot that. I'm pretty sure. I know I shot that. Where is it? Found it. My organization is not that great. I've had gigabytes and gigabytes of footage from Monday Night Kizomba. I was able to find it, shared it with you. And so hearing this makes me extremely happy, because as an instructor, I also want to make sure that you have people to teach. So getting people in, so create a vibe. So getting people there, people interested, people to start getting that bug and getting that drug of like, oh my God, this is a fantastic dance, a fantastic culture, fantastic group of people. So I looked up and I think we pushed 50 people in your class. We were all the way up and down. Your management was fantastic. Your energy, you were on the mic, you had them laughing. You did a fantastic job. That's the first time I ever seen you teach.
I'm pretty sure. That makes sense. Yeah.
I had faith that you had been doing it enough that you were going to be fine, but you blew me away. The class was fun. People were high-fiving. The energy was spiking. And to hear that the demo was equally impressive for you makes me so happy. And I wish I had shared it sooner. I'm actually going to post it on my page later. Do my own edit as well.
Oh, you're going to do another edit. I was going to say, he already shared it. This guy shares all.
Well, yeah, I'm going to share your shit, bro. I'm going to share
Yeah.
all y'all. Y'all have helped grow the community through your contributions and being here. And y'all are doing things, so which is going to lead me to the very next big topic. You're teaching classes. You did what you said you were going to do. You moved here and almost immediately said, I'm going to, as soon as I can, get settled in, I want to teach classes. Funny story. Things were dragging I think as it relates to finding your home, moving in and whatnot. But I think you had just finally started moving in, and you said to me, you said this to me, you said, TV, if I am not teaching classes or some type of classes by February, embarrass me, humiliate me, call me out.
That's mostly right. It was October, and then Sheikah saved me with Two Kids Tuesday. Because I said, I got to do something by October. I don't know what it is. I have to at least announce something. And then Sheikah started organizing her event, and she's putting together the lineup. And for whatever reason, people couldn't do the first month. And she's like, you want to do it? I'll do the first month. So I ended up doing the first month. So on my deadline for getting roasted by TV, I was like, you have to roast me. You have to make it uncomfortable. Like really be like, what is it? Your father smells of elderberries or something, really say something.
He said, do something, make me feel bad. Yeah, I was going to shame him basically. And he asked me to shame.
Right. Yeah.
Luckily, I didn't have to. Man, my dates are all wrong. I was ready to burn you. You suck. You came all this way and you don't teach.
Yep.
And, you asked for it. Which is neat, by the way, that as soon as you got here, you pretty much were plugged in. You were plugged into the system, into the new program that Sheikah was putting together, which is the reason that sparked an idea. Her doing that sparked this idea. I'm like, wait, you're teaching on Tuesdays, where she's going to have classes on Tuesdays, and you're going to have someone teach every month. What if that person that teaches on Tuesdays teaches on Mondays? So that's when we flipped the way we were doing it in terms of the teaching. What if, and in this case, the very first person was you, which is perfect because we needed to introduce you to the community. What better way than to have you teach at Monday Night Kizomba? So that became the new program that we started to implement, as the person that teaches that for the month at 2 Kids is that Monday. And it gives them some added exposure, and then we feed them directly on over. You tell them, hey, I'm teaching at 2 Kids on Tuesdays for the entire month. If you like what you heard here, what you experienced here, come join me there. And I think that was starting to work well. It made me really, really happy because you literally plugged right in, and it makes me so happy. Which leads me to, what do you have coming up, my friend? What is on the agenda for you, and how are you going to further contribute to the scene, to what you said you wanted to do? Applaud you, by the way. A lot of people talk about doing things. You have been doing things.
Well, that's why I think a lot of things, and I only talk about them if I actually going to do it, because I will be peer pressured into doing things. Even with my wife, if I tell her I'm going to do something, I'm like, I got to do it. But if she asks me to do something, I'm like, there's no way I'm ever going to do that. Then I'm just, no, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
Just because, whatever reason, so a couple of weeks ago, if anyone's in the area or is not aware, or if you're from somewhere else, I did an event. It was called the Free Kizomba and Samba Boot Camp. So myself and Araceli, who is a local teacher who's been teaching here from a long time, one of the original people in Dallas, original people, right? From the very start, she's one of the original people to learn and teach Kizomba in Dallas. And she is incredibly knowledgeable about the culture. She's been at Angola. She has friendships and relationships with Angolans that are very deep. And so it was myself who was new, and I brought Arcelia in because she's one of the people that does the type of dancing I want to do as well. And I've always wanted to grow Kizomba in the area. It was the same thing with San Diego. I didn't want to take other people's students. If people like what I do better and they want to move over, that's their business, but I'm not going to purposefully try to conflict with other people. So, anyways, I bring Araceli on board. She's very helpful and does her class as well. I do my class. We do Kizomba and Semba, and that was the free taster sample. And now, from that, with people having experienced that, I'm going to do in the same studio a series of class. First, it was free, but now you got to pay. The next series of class.
You're a damn drug dealer.
I was going to do this meme and I really like it, but it's one of the few memes I took down because I can see it be taken in a kind of weird way where I'm like the Costco sample guy. I'm handing out Kizomba classes. Yeah, so I was thinking about it in a more PG way, but yeah, the technology did come into my mind as well. But after doing the free one, now in February, I'm going to do a 4-week series of classes. The series might extend if I enjoy it, if the students enjoy it, if the attendance is good enough. And to be honest, if I break even or make a little bit of money, that's a good sign that it will continue. If I lose a whole bunch of money, it might not continue or it might not happen for a while. But I was telling TV already that pre-sales of the tickets are already looking like I'm at least breaking even on the series. So as long as a few students really enjoy and I enjoy, I'll probably continue in second part of March or something from there. So it's going to be 4-week course, Kizomba and Semba classes. And the idea is I'm going to play Kizomba music, I'm going to play Semba music. I'm going to try to tell you which is which when I play them. I'm going to try to give you clues and hints on how to tell for yourself. And I'm going to teach you the two dances, or let me rephrase. I'm going to teach you the moves. And the dances are so similar. Some people think that they're actually the same dance to different music. I'm a little on the fence for that. I think there are some differences, but very, very close. Kizomba comes from Semba for sure. I'm going to tell you, okay, this is how you might dance this move to a Kizomba song, to this feeling, to that feeling. I'm going to tell you how to do the same move to a Semba song as we go throughout the series. That's the goal. I'm going to have at least some of that in there. Will I nail it 100%? Probably not. But that's the goal, to have both of those elements in the classes as I go. And that's going to be the series. And the series will intend to be progressive. So if you go to the whole series, if you if you buy the ticket, you save money. If you go to the whole thing, you're going to get the best experience because it's supposed to be layered week after week after week.
Nice.
It is a beginner series, so if you show up week 3, you're not going to be completely lost. There is a good chance you'll be able to still enjoy and learn. But if you show up week 1 and 2, week 3 is going to be much better.
Do you promise it's going to be fun?
I promise to try to make it fun. I'm going to make jokes. I'm going to play fun music.
Be lighthearted.
I'm going to do what I can to make it enjoyable. I will definitely have interesting moves and things we're going to do, but I don't like to rush to super technical things. There will definitely be something technical, something challenging each week, but there's going to be a lot of making sure your basics are fun, interesting, and creative. So it's not just doing the basics over and over. It's okay, if I do basic 2, can I do it this way or that way in different ways? So I'm still working basic 2, but it's more enjoyable, more musical, more variety. That's the type of thing I try to do to make it more fun.
Well, if it's anything like the couple of classes that I witnessed from you, You can trust it's going to be fun, dear audience. It will be fun. He is by his nature just a fun-loving guy. He's actually really funny. I don't know if you can tell, but he's also he's the biggest memer that I know at the moment. So he's always looking at things from a humorous point of view, sometimes trying to make a point, laugh, but always humorous. So between that and the fact that I've seen a couple of his classes, you're going to have a great time. So make sure to come out. I'll make sure to include links to the event, to his workshop, not a workshop, his classes in the description here. But know that Kizomba is coming. Kizomba from the source code. Dallas has been known as an UrbanKiz kind of city for the most part, because that's all we had for the majority. But now Mr. Allen here will be teaching, and I'm stupid excited, as I've been with a lot of things in this conversation. That's one of the key things that we've been consistently missing. UrbanKiz, forget about it. We're known throughout the country for our dancing, our DJs, we kill it. But now it's time to really go back to the roots, and Alan here is going to be responsible for that. And I can trust, given who he's learned from and who his teachers were, that he's got good material and he's got the personality to make sure that you're enjoying yourself throughout.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you can tell by looking at me. I mean, I look Irish, I look Scottish, I look English. I do not look Angolan. If you got a discerning eye, you could probably tell I'm not even, I'm not Portuguese. So it's not like I'm a white Angolan or I'm from Portugal living around Angolan people. I'm from Iowa. When people ask me where I'm from, because my accent is a hot mess, because I teach African dance, and because my wife is a British Nigerian, and all about my life says I should be from an interesting, far-off place. No, sir. I am from.
You white man. You a white man.
My backyard was a cornfield. My neighbor had a goat. It was not particularly exotic.
I don't think that's exotic. Goats are exotic to me. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, I guess the goat part. I should have left the goat out to make.
I'm like, once you said that, like, you're exotic.
That really undermines the boring cornfield aesthetic I was going for in that story. But I have learned, as TV said, I do my best to actually learn from Angolans, other people who have either come from the culture or have immersed themselves in the culture as a real passion. So that's why I really respect Araceli, who's already here in Dallas, because she has immersed herself. She's not from the culture either, but she has immersed herself as much as she possibly can from what I've seen. So that's what I'm doing right now, as far as where I can try to relay quality teaching that's real to Angola, real to the other countries that you will find Kizomba or similar to Kizomba music. And speaking of saying things to force myself to do it, if the events go well and I'm not losing money and my wife is not, upset with large expenditures, I hope to bring other teachers who are of the same quality, either from the culture originally or those that I know well who have immersed themselves in the culture, to try to, not make it their own, but try to really learn it and love it properly.
I love it. We're going to be known as a Kizomba city as well. I feel that through your initiative and your venture into this, that it's going to pull other people in. Before you know it, we're going to be the destination for all things urban and Kizomba, which has always been my vision. I think we have enough talent here. We just need the teachers, the people to push that agenda forward. And with you here, no pressure, you're going to do it.
Well, I don't feel pressured, because I'll just think of the saying, I might butcher it, but it's like, if you shoot for the stars, you'll hit the moon, or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, because there are some cities that have deep history, that that have a lot of people from the cultures, a lot of Cape Verdeans,
yes,
Angolans, and there's people who have deep history with the dance and the culture, and even places where the dance scene as a outside of the culture, as far as teachers and DJs and all of this kind of non-culture related activity as far as socials. There's people who've been doing that for a long, long time. So to say we're going to beat them, ambitious. Is it going to happen?
sorry.
I'd rather fail and get a close second than not even try. So, like I said, if we shoot for the stars and hit the moon, I'm still going to be very happy. TV's going to be over here going, I want those stars. Get
Oh yeah, we're gonna aim for it. That wouldn't be surprised if some of those people from those cities move here. By sheer nature of and it doesn't even have to be Kizomba related. Some of the people are moving here because of work, much like yourself.
Exactly.
But knowing that there's already a hotbed of talent and opportunity here, that can be the deciding factor for them coming here and making this their home, and help with you on board as well. Help grow it. Like it's not linear. It's actually very compounded. It's going to compound over time, and that's kind of given, especially what I have seen over the last 4 years of hardcore pushing. That's what's going to happen, because you're in here, and 4 or 5 other people that are in Dallas now weren't here, but now they're here and they're helping create this culture and adding to it. To wrap up, I wanted to ask you, Alan, how were you able to put together a workshop and have how many people did you have at your workshop, and how many people were you expecting? And then, how did that work out, and how did you feel confident that that would even work out for you, given that we have never had much of a Kizomba scene, especially not for years, much less have anybody teach in a while. How are you able to work that out?
So I come out here and I see all of TV's pictures, I see the videos, and I'm like, ooh, that looks interesting. I want to take a part in that. That looks really exciting. I talked to TV at the chat a few times. I don't mean, maybe we even had a voice call. I don't remember. But I definitely talked to TV a bunch of times. But I never asked him until I was already in Texas, is the scene urban, Kizomba, or balanced? And I asked that question when I was in Texas, and he said,
I didn't lie to you.
Definitely urban. And I said, oh no, because I was thinking from what I saw in the pictures and the videos, I was hoping that it was balanced. And he told the truth. This is definitely more of an urban scene. But there were some things that made me hopeful when I got here, because so many people, either TV had told me, people reached out online, people reached out when I would come to events when I still started attending. So many people told me, "Oh, you teach Kizomba? I want to learn Kizomba. We don't have that here. I want to learn Kizomba. I want to learn Kizomba." And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who teach urban. There's a lot of people who can dance Kizomba. I'm not going to say they aren't there. There's even teachers who can dance Kizomba and Semba, but most of them, except for myself and Articelli, they're Kizomba and urban, Kizomba and Tarasho, Kizomba and so I'm not saying that means they're not good at teaching Kizomba. I don't know, because from what I've seen, most of the people who do urban and Kizomba are teaching urban when they do teach. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a way to sample how good they are at teaching Kizomba and so forth. So in my mind, even though there are people who are listed as Kizomba, in practicality, no one's teaching Kizomba. Not much. I think there was an event that came and went that was doing Kizomba. Tuesdays with that Shika hosts has rotating teachers. So I've taught Kizomba. Other people will do it as well. But there are no consistent classes like there are for urban. And I saw that as hopeful, an opportunity, but I knew there's no base of dancers who already know. So I I was kind of hopeful that there was this pent up interest of people who either wanted Kizomba instead of urban, or, and I've seen a whole bunch of this, a large portion of the scene who dances urban is very interested in knowing both. They
Yeah.
want to know both styles, either because they think learning fundamentals of Kizomba well will help their urban, or because they genuinely want to dance the whole night long at a balanced event. And so
I'll tell
I was hopeful.
I'll tell you, there's a handful that would dance more Kizomba if there was more Kizomba, or if there was more
Mhm.
classes. There's a Rue, for example. To me, he's an upcoming Kizomba dancer. When he dances, even when he dances urban, is very Kizomba centric. He's got a grounded feel to him. So there's people that are just been waiting for someone to teach it and to share it. But know that those people are also a part of this collective. But how did you get
Right.
people? How did you get people to your class? How many people did you have at your free workshop?
So I ended up having about 45. Um, I had some people that didn't check into the Eventbrite beforehand, but they were kind of written down by the wonderful Candy, who graciously volunteered to help check people in. There were other people who volunteered as well, but my memory is blanking. And checking people in during the first class was kind of the most helpful thing, because most people aren't going to come after that. And I can't check people in while I work. But, anyways, that was super helpful. She checked people in. That was 45, something like that. A little less, a little
That's
more.
that's a fantastic turnout. Granted, it was free.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, you had 45 people show up to your thing, man.
Mhm.
Congratulations. I
Thank
was
you.
I was impressed.
I was super happy. And the entire time building up to it, I was constantly at nerves, alternating days. One day on Monday, I would be nervous that there wouldn't be enough people and it would feel empty, and the whole thing would be a waste of time and money, and everything was doom and gloom. And then the next day, I would no, well, it was never good, because the next day I'd be
No?
like,
Okay.
so many people have RSVP'd. The fire marshal's gonna get called. I'm gonna get
That's
kicked
right. You
out,
reached out to me about that.
because I didn't have a judgment yet, and I still will have to learn. But I didn't know how many people saying they were gonna go actually means who's gonna show up.
Right.
And because of the marketing I was doing, from learning from TV, which is another reason why we're here, I got so many responses and so many people who saying they were going to go on Facebook and saying they were going to go on Eventbrite. I started getting nervous that it would be too full. And on the day, it was perfect, because anymore the class would have been a struggle to manage. The studio had more space, but the students would have had to start going into a side room that would have been awkward to see. There was a bar in the way. Any less, and the space wouldn't have felt as full and lively as it ended up being. So the space was fully utilized without being too packed from my perspective. So I was incredibly happy on the day with the turnout of people. So it was really good.
It was a great turnout. I was impressed. You're one of my so Alan here has my course. He devoured it, been going through it. He's been asking me questions, follow-up questions, which have helped me develop the course even more. Um, but you went through it, you applied a lot of the things in it, and like I said, asked questions, and you applied it in such a way that it was creating a situation for you where you might have too many people. I knew you wouldn't, just
Right.
because, well, that's just people's tendencies. I had, given the fact that you used Eventbrite, I thought that the percentage might be a little higher.
Right.
I guess it did. What do you think it worked out? 30-40% of interested or people that RSVP to actual show ups?
I think I think maybe Eventbrite was the easier, or looking back, the better metric. It was about 40% of those that signed up on Eventbrite actually showed up, at about 45 people that went, and 120 people or 120 tickets were reserved.
Right. So
Yeah.
40%, 30-40%. Impressive.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And then that's one of the big things that I push is you have to have numbers. If you have 30 people, even 50 people, then you might get 15 to 20 actually show up. And that's if you've done a good job of continuously marketing it to ensure that they feel confident that it's going to be a good turnout, that it's going to be fun, that they can trust you. You're trying to sell them on the fact, especially for you, you've never done anything here. That you have to get them to trust that it's going to happen, that you're good, that there's going to be people, that's fun. And I watching you ran the game plan as good as you could. And I have been blown away. You could please share what kind of things that you learned. Feel free to share freely. What did you learn that have positively impacted the way you marketed that, but also are already marketing your next event?
So I would say this. Well, let me ask you: is the free 1 hour condensed version still available, or will be available when this goes out?
It'll probably be published eventually. The webinar?
No. Well, I mean, it was published. I was sharing it to people a while back, so I don't know.
Well, then it's probably still. See, I don't even know what I did. Then yes, it's still going to be out there.
So I would say this: anyone who is watching this and you're interested in learning what I'm talking about, what TV is talking about, go check out the free version. It has a lot of what you need to do, and that alone will start you in the right path. And then maybe you make some money from it. Maybe somebody sees what you're doing and likes it and maybe donates to help you improve. But if you try the free version, most of what I did, if you paid attention and really looked at what was said there, could be done from that. But the detail of the course is on another level. And I would say for me, the course made it easy or easier, because instead of having to necessarily reinvent the wheel for every single step that I learned in the free version, it was like, this is how to make an ad. This is how to make an audience for who you want to see the ad. This is how to consider budgeting. This is how to do various things on it. What type of ads you want to do? What type of people do you want to engage? And the level of detail on it was incredibly useful. You can market to people who've gone to your previous events, and you can market to people who saw part of your last video to show them your next video. You can market in ways that were just like incredibly specific. And for me, there was kind of phases. Before I even left California, I saw the content. I believe maybe I saw the free webinar.
You did. I remember you reached out. Yeah.
And it was good. Step one, no money. Just put stuff out all the time. I like to make jokes. So I just started making memes every day for months. And that started building my social media. It wasn't huge. It was maybe 10, 20 people a month or something like that. But it was fun. I had something to do, and it started to build my muscle for how to do things that would be useful for marketing. And then it also built my social media pages, which are still very small, very modest, but they're growing. Probably everything combined, 1,200 people. I don't know. It's not much. But before I started, everything combined was 500 people. I don't know. It was much smaller. next step, I started doing the things in the webinar, and actually, like, this meme did well, or this video did well. Me add $1 a day and show it to more people. Because that really, for the advertisement, all you're doing is making the platforms show your content to people who might like it. And if they like it, they do. And if they don't, they don't. But you're paying money to actually reach them instead of putting it out there normally, and your friends see it, and maybe the people who already like your page see it.
Yeah.
And then that's it. But this actually gives you the chance for whatever you do to be seen.
And that's the point. Yeah, if you don't have people see it, all the work you're putting into it, all the effort into organizing an event or putting together a graphic or a flyer, it becomes worthless. It literally is worthless, especially in Facebook. If it's almost to the point where if you don't put some money behind it, you might as well not even do it, because nobody's going to see it except the people that might watch it because they're already engaged on your page. And that's even a percentage. If 100 people like your page, 2 or 3 people might see it, and that's because they kind of like you and they've been engaging. But yeah, I made sure to include as much as I could in the course, and even on the webinar when I did it last year. Dude, I did it over a year ago. I tried to cram as much in there because I did want to get people to take action and walk away with actionable steps that they can implement immediately. So it's a great callback up to that. But in your opinion, because it's actually for sale on the website now, I need to actually refine it. But would you recommend the course to anyone? Would you recommend it to people who have the budget, the money to actually invest in learning these strategies?
I mean, that's the key. If you got the money, yes. If you have the money to pay for the course, and you're also have the budget that you're willing to spend money on advertisements.
Yes, this is a good
going
point.
Forward. If you just have the money and that's it, you scrape together everything, I'd say maybe it would be useful. But if you have the money and the budget to advertise going forward, and if you intend to advertise, buy it right now. If you have the money to advertise, you're gonna advertise. This is how to make that advertisement actually useful. Short of that, then it's kind of up to your budget and up to what you can afford and do. I would say personally, it is worth it and super helpful, but it's on your budget, because I know budgets are tight.
The reason that I put it all together is because there's a lot of work that went into it, and I'm still putting more into it now. Monday Night Kizomba and the Dallas scene didn't grow by accident. It did grow because it was consistent, but you could count on having anywhere from 50 to 100 people at Monday Night Kizomba every single time. If I had under 50 people, it must have been icing outside or something, or it must have been raining all day and flooding somewhere. But it was very intentional, and it was an investment on my part. So in the course, I teach everything that every strategy imaginable, and a large part of it is running ads. But I include SEO, I include Google My Business listing, I include platforms like Eventbrite, Meetup, other ideas around that.
Use Eventbrite.
Eventbrite is free.
If you're doing a free event, anyone watching, if you're doing a free event, use Eventbrite. It shows your event to people.
Yep, it pushes it out.
Extremely helpful for free to use. And if you're doing a paid event, I've found it less powerful. But for a free event, it is very, very useful to getting people's attention on what you're trying to put on.
Yeah, Eventbrite will, because they're an event platform, will push your events out to people that you never would have even thought of. Like, they do it on your behalf because it's in their best interest. But I share all these strategies and give you all my tricks and everything I did to ensure that every stinking Monday Night Kizomba was jamming, was lit, as the kids say. And I've actually been developing it off and on for over a year finally put it up on the website for sale. So check it out. Alan has been kind enough to go through it, implement it thoroughly. And because of that, he's like, from the jump, he had his first workshop, which was free. So there was benefit to that. It was basically my Monday Night Kizomba is free, by the way. That's a funnel. You get people at the top, enough people are interested or willing to at least show up because it is free. Let me give it a try. I've always wanted to try Kizomba. Let me see what it's about. And now you're doing the paid event, and you've already said that looks like you're going to at least break even. So, and he's implementing, he's doing, he's a rock star. Like, he's killing it. I love watching him do everything, and it's inevitable that he's going to succeed. Like, this is from the beginning. You're not like, oh crap, I have 2 or 3 people in class for the next month or two because I don't know, I didn't get enough people to show up, or not enough people shared, or not enough people supported. No, like, he has been proactive, and he was a great student, and it makes me happy to hear him. Like, I almost cried when you told me that you had that many people. Like, you were talking about fire marshal shutting you down type of stuff. That was crazy. But I wanted, yes, go ahead.
Well, it was perfect timing because I've spent years learning to teach and years learning to dance, and I am still growing with both. And I know, but with both, I know how to grow easily. I know who I can take lessons from. I have all kinds of things I know to practice for both my teaching and dancing. But for years, I've been struggling with getting people to come to my class, especially new people, and how to do that independently, especially if you work for a studio and they have any kind of promotion going on, that then maybe as a teacher you don't need to learn this skill. But if you're trying to be an independent teacher and you're not hired by a studio, or maybe the studio is not paying you very well and you want to do your own thing, you need to learn to, or I do for sure, you need to learn to market what you can do to get people in your class. Because for a long time, I had imposter syndrome where I thought I wasn't a good teacher. Now I always add the caveat that I need to grow on both fronts, but I can say I'm good at both. I'm a good teacher and I'm a good dancer. And so with finally being able to admit that, then I got to really think, how do I get people in these classes if I'm actually good at what I do, but I can't get people to show up?
Become a good marketer.
Keep working on the product, which is my skill of dance and teaching. But at the same time, I have to learn how to display what I already do well, so that people recognize what I have and then come out to the class. So, I mean, as far as marketing, and there's one thing I saw online for another teacher, a very high level teacher, and her idea of marketing was very wrong in that she thought it was like specific to sexuality or specific to something else. And that's not what she wanted to do. And so anyone if you see this and you're interested, to anyone, marketing is showing what you do well so that the people who like what you do can come out to your event, come out to your class. That's it. I mean, the tactics of it in the course are definitely useful, but that's the goal, is to show yourself for real instead of whatever other people are doing to market. So if you're into a dance and you like the history, show and brag and put out history. If you like comedy like I do, like, yeah, I do like history, but I love comedy. So a lot of the history I know tends to be things that happen to be funny, but whatever you do well, you got to show it. And
yeah, given the tools that we already have our phones on us all the time. Instead of being a consumer, be a producer and then produce actual content that others can then consume. Like, that is the benefit, is You can leverage every platform that you're on. I like to tell people that I help my clients get found, get discovered, and make money by leveraging all the creepy social media platforms that we love to hate. So you're already on them, they're already tracking you. Why not use that same tracking information to your benefit for your message, whether it be teaching, whether it be hosting an event, whether you're my girlfriend, she's a yoga instructor. He helps market her yoga business, is whatever it is, whether you want to market your religious beliefs, whatever you want to do, you now have tools at your disposal through these various platforms that are following us around anyways. Use them to actually push your message out there in a way that actually benefits you, benefits your community, and serves the world. Marketing to me is one of the most essential skills, and at least the understanding of marketing is one of the most essential skills that you can have, because you can take this, what you learn in the course, and apply it to almost anything, any venture you have, any interest, you name it, you can apply it and market and advertise and promote to actually get people to show up. The problem usually isn't that there's not enough people that are interested. Not enough people know that you exist, or that your message or your passion exists. So until that happens, give them an opportunity to say no, and enough people an opportunity to say yes. And that is the difference between those that are succeeding and those that are not. There's a lot of people that are really fucking great at what they do, but because they have not put enough effort into the marketing, and it's a lot of work. It's another skill set, or they don't have someone that can help them. They inevitably fall to the wayside because they lose hope and they can't sustain. Marketing is what good marketing will make shitty service providers succeed. So what will it do for a person like yourself who actually cares about what you're doing and the quality and the quality of the actual service and the message you're putting out there?
Well, that's why there's it's kind of a theory that I have, and I think that's why a lot of teachers who tour can necessarily blow up, is because in the touring process, they're going to other people's events. Those people have to do marketing for them, and therefore that helps to build their brand, build people's awareness of them.
Yes, all true.
So that can be exceptionally helpful for them to build up a local scene if they try to choose to do so, because all of this awareness is being built without them necessarily have to put in the effort. The same as if you get hired by a studio that does at least somewhat of a good job to market for you, is they're doing that piece for you. But for me, right now, I'm independent. I don't know anyone who runs a studio. If you're hiring in DFW area, hello. But right now, if I want to do something, I gotta find a space, and I gotta do it.
Yeah, put the effort on that side too.
I think at least for me, the best part is to keep on focus is by doing the things I actually enjoy, and try to share that with the world. Before I even left California, I started developing this idea of it's a virtuous cycle. So if I market and I get paid for anything, I get paid for a private or anything like that, then in the private, I record something. I get a picture with myself and the student. I get video of the student doing something particularly well. I get video of myself explaining, anything like that. Now I've created content, and it's stuff that I'm going to be doing anyways. From there, I can use the money to either buy myself lessons, pay for advertisements. So I'm building all of the things I'm doing, and then it kind of all comes back around. So not only am I getting better as a teacher, as a dancer, the business is growing, the brand is growing, that type of thing. I've said brand in this conversation more than I have in my entire life. Like this entire time I've been doing your course, I have barely even thought or said the word brand, but now I'm in this conversation and it just keeps coming out, and it feels odd. Now, I'm not about that, but it is probably the correct word.
It is the correct word, and use it properly.
The other thing I would say about this idea of virtuous cycle, because I don't know if you're looking to wrap up, I'm enjoying talking, but it's going a bit. So if you want to cut it, Anyways, if you learn the skills that help you to promote, help you to market, if you learn photo editing, if you learn video editing, these can all feed back into improving your dance and teaching, especially video editing. Every time I edit a demo of myself after a class or some
I
kind
know
of
where you're going with this.
dance project, I hate
Yeah.
watching myself.
I hate myself in video.
I hate watching myself dance because I only see the problems. It's a rare exception where I can look at it and be at least somewhat happy that I did as well as I can. But this has been an incredible mechanism that I've had for the last several years, ever since lockdown, and I was doing these classes to Zooms of 1 to 0 people, editing those videos. Now I'm watching myself dance. Why am I bouncing there? Why am I doing this? Why does my hand go there? Oh, I was going too fast. All these things that I would have never known about my own dance that was naturally brought to me because I was doing things to try to promote.
Mhm.
And it made the pain of the cringe of watching myself dance so much easier because I was doing it for the method of something else.
Yeah.
And so in the process, and it also is super helpful as well, because if you're watching videos of yourself dance in the mind frame that I want to share something good, what's the good part of this? It's way less painful to look to
Honorable.
filter out and find something good worth sharing. Maybe it's not amazing, but you know what? That's good. I like that. I'm proud enough of that to put it on out into the world. So
I wanted
the
to.
rest of your crappy dancing you can work on in practice, but at least it's instead of
You're
watching
doing
it to go, you suck, you suck, you suck, you suck, you're watching it to find, that one's good. That part is good. That's worth putting out in the world. There was another hour of garbage, but that part was amazing. And it's so much easier to watch myself to learn in that mind frame than just to watch myself and go,
Critical.
well, what were you? No, oh no, oh no. That is a problem. Yeah.
It is almost time to wrap it up, but I do want to make one major point, and it touches on what you said. One of the biggest lessons that I can give you for those watching and that's in the course is the event that you're hosting or the class that you're teaching should immediately be promoting the next class. The content that you can shoot Monday Night Kizomba, the event itself, we shoot photos, we shoot videos, and we immediately grab those photos. We're already promoting the next class because it's easier. It's a content producing machine in and of itself. Without those photos and videos and those stories, then it's hard to convince people to come. It's hard to even think about what to write about or talk about. Because I have those photos and videos, the content from the event, I now have plenty to write about and talk about. Trying to think of what things to share with the world become very difficult if I don't have that, if I don't have those experiences. So every class you have, every workshop, every social, you should already be gathering stories, people telling you like, oh my God, I drove from Oklahoma because I love it here so much and I couldn't miss it again. And I was going to make it. Great. That's a story. And I have a photo of her from the event. Somebody from San Antonio or the college kids are there. And I had a college kid actually working at her laptop while she was in the joint. So I took a photo of her and I jotted that down. That's a story. That's something that I can share. It's not always of people embracing, but a lot of them are going to be people embracing and dancing and feeling. So you should be using your event to capture moments, capture stories, photos, and videos to help promote the very next one or the one after that, whenever that is. If you are not, then you are going to be fighting an uphill battle and then trying to find something clever to say or some video to shoot a video later after the fact of you. Like, there's no need for that. You did all the work of hosting this event. Use it. Shoot with your phone, shoot with whatever. Find a reason, find a way rather to record and document those moments to then help feed the next one. And it doesn't matter how bad you think you are at shooting and recording and editing. Yeah. Much like we were talking about earlier with teaching, you have to start somewhere. Start learning to use the apps on your phone to edit the photos, edit the videos, and then promote and publish. It is a massively important skill. And the platforms actually, some of the platforms will reward you with organic reach. You just post consistently. You will get in front of more eyeballs if you just post consistently. But you need to post. You need the content to post. So you've done all the work. Go ahead and put it out there. Having said that, Alan, thank you for this conversation. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for moving here. You and your wife, your son have been fantastic. I look forward to continuing to grow our friendship. I'm excited that you're here. I'm excited for the growth. I'm excited that you took the course. And so you're going to put it together. There's no reason that a person that just moved here should be doing that well. You just moved here. And
the class, the event I did would have been at most a quarter of the size. So I recognized about a quarter of the people from other events I've attended, other things I've taught at. So if it was purely based on the marketing I used to do as far as in-person networking and friendships and marketing online via sharing to groups or sending invites and all kinds of except for in-person marketing, this is all stuff unrecommended by TV in the materials when you go through it. But even if I did my best version of marketing beforehand, it would have been a quarter of the size it was. So it was, I'm sure I'm going to say the math wrong, but I mean, it was 4 times as big as it would have been if I marketed another way.
Yeah. You killed it, and you're going to continue because you're only going to get better and come up with your own ideas and your own. Thank you for doing that because you make me look good. Thank you. Thank you for the friendship. I appreciate you so much. It's been a long conversation. You also stuck around and allowed me to jump on board after my computer went bonkers. I look forward to putting this out and to continue growth and love, my friend. Say hi to your wife and tell her I'm sorry for stealing you away so long.